Danny asked from my point of view, but I do agree that for as important as if we can't pump water, none of us would even be here.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, to move forward, we haven't changed our thoughts at all from 2016.
Right.
And our input to BEAD hasn't changed at all. It's exactly the same stuff. We haven't changed our thoughts at all from 2016.
Right.
And our input to BEAD hasn't changed at all. It's exactly the same stuff. We haven't changed our thoughts at all from 2016.
Right.
And our input to BEAD hasn't changed at all. It's exactly the same stuff. So I think BEAD needs to take this list, update it. We don't need the dates anymore. List them out, let's list the cost, and we need to reprioritize it. Yes. And then he needs to reflect in his budget request for next year that which isn't capital and that which he needs money for. But to make this thing, we can talk here all day long, we're never gonna get it. We're gonna need an all-day Saturday meeting with this list and hammer it out. It's not gonna happen today. The one thing we can do is get this list updated and move forward, have a logical meeting with lots of time and just
Well,
do this
in
thing.
reality, you got the piece of paper.
Well, let's get the
Hold on. The piece of paper already tells you what you need to know. You just,
Right.
there's not a whole lot to say. We've all agreed this is a priority. We identified it back in 2016. We haven't moved forward. If it's still the same priority today, simplify the list and make this a priority and move forward on it and quit.
Some other things have come along. I mean, obviously, we survived the drought, and we got functioning wells, and we got some property, and things are better. Things have changed since this was created.
Mhm.
And we also, what about the Tuolumne County thing we were in, where we were talking about emergency preparedness? There's other options that weren't in sight at all back then. So I just think we need to take a big look at the whole thing, and we're not going to do it today.
No, I agree. Emery.
Question for Randy. Randy, I think when I came on the board in '08, that we've been operating on one lung, right? When did that, the intakes, only
One
one's
lung.
been working since '08, hasn't it? Or when did it break?
I don't think
I
it
think
was
when I
that
came
long
on,
ago.
we were talking about it then, and the board before us talked about getting that fixed.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
you're making it emergency, but I'm telling you,
No,
it's been a long
I
time.
think since I've been on the board that both wells were operated on, and I think when Ralph was here, I think one of them went
Yes.
to a lock rotor situation, if I'm not
So
mistaken.
what year was that?
They
Within the last 5
didn't
years.
know if it froze up or if it shorted the ground, but
Right.
it is.
Fried.
When Ralph was here, you're correct. When Ralph was here, one just failed miserably right in front of us. We were having him tested and measured and everything
So-
else, and while we were doing it, it failed right then.
So in '09 or '08, in that range, and Wes was on the board, you guys pulled something out. I think it was on the, if you stood there at the lake, it would be the left side. That was, you pulled something out. And
Was that the booster pump that fried
and you
there,
pulled
Randy?
something out.
No, that's the actual intake pump.
Okay.
And you did a pump, yeah.
Yes.
So at that point, we just had a right, right?
Correct. And pump number, you're referring to pump number 1 and pump number 2. Pump number 2 does not work. Pump
Okay.
number 1 was the one that we pulled out,
Yeah.
had repaired. Pump number 2, I believe, was taken to Texas, and it
Yeah.
was tested, because that was the only place that was close enough to us that could test that. Well, however they test those things, but they took it to Texas, they brought it back, within 2 years or so, it quit working. So, whether it was a wiring issue
So-
or an internal issue with the pump,
Let me
but
finish
somehow or another, it is completely seized up or shorted to ground.
So, but we, on the board, as board members, with our 7 employees, and someone came and did that. I remember there's a guy that came and pulled that, and you guys.
That was Canada.
Okay, so we could do this other side, can't we? I mean, if we did it then, why can't we do it today? What's the difference?
I
Now, he talked about the
I
tube or something.
Pete could probably answer this better, but I think that we held off on pulling that because we were gonna try to extend the intake farther down. There was no point of us pulling it and
But we-
repairing it, putting it back
but
in,
we
when we
could
wanted to
fix
extend
that.
it at 60 more feet or
Like
so.
we did before, we could fix that motor, not extend it, right? We could get that going.
Yep.
And we should probably do that because we did it before, that way we've got a backup. And it must not have been overly expensive because we were broke then and we're less broke now. So,
If you recall though, when we did pull those, it was because the bottom part of the structure collapsed.
yes,
So it was an emergency. They had to re-support the bottom half and.
and the lake was down too, as I
Yeah, the
recall.
lake was almost empty.
Yeah,
But I thought, my mind's telling me that there were issues with the suction pipe going into the lake on that pump, and that the electric controls inside that little building were totally toast for that pump. So it's not just a mechanical issue with the pump, I think it's the pipe it's connected to going, the inlet pipe.
I haven't
I
heard-
think there are major control issues that prevent.
the little
that thing
building,
from
I'll
working.
agree with you, but I have not heard them say that the pipe is toast yet.
So, you know,
Is that true?
we don't know, hold on,
What?
we don't know what's wrong, we're just kind of fabricating this in our minds, you know,
If
kind of,
they know what's wrong,
well,
Randy
The
knows.
the only thing that we know is when it was tested and it keeps tripping the breaker is that
It's
pump
going to
number
ground.
2 is shorted to ground. Or it's completely seized because it will come on, it'll work for 3 seconds and makes a god awful noise, and then boom, it shuts off.
No
So
matter
whether it's
what,
electrical failure, shorted out at the pump, we don't know. All we know is that it's at the bottom of the lake and it doesn't work.
no matter what, those 4 items are still at the top of the list.
No, I'm agreeing.
And we should,
I'm
we should be saying, these are things we want fixed first. And we need to know a cost, we need to know how long it's gonna take, and, you know, all
guess-
4 of them are just as important as the others.
No, I'm agreeing with you on that, but what I'm saying is, I don't know if we need to do a grant and all that, because we didn't do any grants back when we did that. We had no grants whatsoever and no money,
Right.
so somehow, we, as
I
an
agree.
emergency, jerk that thing out of there if we can, and whoever did it, Knapp or whoever did it, and fix it. And I know the little building is destroyed, so if it's that, that's another big problem. That's a really bad
This is
problem.
actually already complete.
What?
Yeah, the
The
booster.
intake booster, you know,
Yeah.
you said the top 3 things, that one's already complete. That was completed in the July that I had my heart attack.
Yeah.
That's already done.
yeah, that was the second booster we put in.
So I think that, you know, replacing the intake, I think Pete's just wanting to get all brand new infrastructure down there and also farther down into the water.
So, well, even if we didn't go further down in the water, it's still, you know, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of investment, okay?
Bunches.
Yeah. My concern, and I can absolutely guarantee you, we can go out and we can get a contractor and say, replace what's there and put it back in and make it function. You know, maybe we gotta replace a starter or something on the electrical controls and jimmy it in there and tie it on and make it work. I am certain that we can get that done post haste, we can get it done. The question is, if that costs us $100 grand, is that $100 grand that we threw away? Because when we go through a design process and look at what's the most efficient motor, the most efficient pump, the most, is that casing even gonna work, or is it gonna kill the pump again when we put it in there? Because we put one pump in there in, I don't remember what it was, early 2000s or whatever, and fried the pump because the casing fell apart and jammed it up. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I mean, you know, we do a lot of things to get stuff done and make it happen and say we did it. We gotta plan this one, unfortunately, because there's so much money. You're talking a minimum, if we didn't look for a grant, it's gonna be a year-long planning process. If we did it out of pocket, and if we really pushed it, we could probably get it done in 6 months. But you're gonna have a higher cost because you're gonna have to dedicate the engineering staff to do all the design and calculations and everything, and force them to get it done faster than what would be a normal process. I'm just being realistic. I don't want you to think that it's just you spec it out, because it's a complicated thing.
What's entailed in getting it done? Is that?
Getting what done?
You said getting it done. What does that mean? Does that mean putting just the motor thing, or does that mean?
No, it's looking at it because
You're talking about
the casings
Yeah, I know
are
the
shot.
casings. I understand.
So those need to be replaced. Okay, so logistically, are you going to decommission the pumps and pull that stuff out and replace it right where it is? Are you going to build a new system parallel to it, right next to it, with new casings and a new control vault and everything else? If you build the new one, is it just one or is it both of them? Is only one of them deeper?
We're making this sound, in my opinion, very
We
simple.
should move it.
Yeah.
Because, we want to put 2 new pipes into Lake McClure.
We should move it to the south.
Environmentally, will we ever get that across? I mean, let's be realistic in California. Will we even be able to get in that ballpark to say we want to put a new system into the lake? I have my concerns that we better be careful what we do, or we're going to lose what we have. To say we want to put a new system into the lake. I have my concerns that we better be careful what we do, or we're going to lose what we have. I mean, that's why. I mean,
Either way, we're going to have to replace it.
Right.
But in all reality, we're not going to replace it where it is because we need it. However, we could, with the barge functioning, and we could float the barge and get off of those pumps, and if the lake's at a level where that'll function, we could function on the barge for a good period of time while we pull those out and replace them in kind.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So barge first, then that, but at the same time we're designing that. Do we design one of those deeper? The level of, you're still going to do a mitigated negative declaration in all reality. Under the environmental laws, you might have to do an EIR if you go with one deeper, because you might have, there might be some things where this board would want to say, you know what? Sure, there's going to be a potential impact, but we have overriding considerations. It's the water supply for the community. So sometimes you'll do an EIR, takes a little bit longer, costs a little bit more money. You're still talking $100 grand for that. But I don't think either of those are going to kill it, Danny. They're going to not allow us to put that in. I think what would kill a deeper intake would be just water politics in general.
Reality is, the lake's at 125% average per net now. The snowpack's at 110 or 115%. The lake's gonna get full this year, and the bottom of our pipe is a long ways down, and
So,
we can't access that thing.
okay, that being
So
said,
we're
what-
talking about, we can't service the straw. All we can work on is the sucker that's up on the edge.
So is your proposal move forward with getting pump number 2 fixed and operational at 100,000? Is that what you're proposing? Because I think it's a good idea. While we have all this water, get it fixed, we sink 100,000, but it's like buying insurance. And then we start this process. First priority, the barge, because that's our quickest insurance. Second insurance is getting that other pump up and operational. Third, then we go forward. Okay, do we change our priorities to say, okay, the third priority becomes getting the intake line replaced, because our profits go out the door when we have those leaks. Our efficiency goes out the door when we have those leaks. And then there's the meters that we've been talking about for 2 or 3 years. So we know what we're actually losing. So there's revenue, I'll say on the customer side, Randy, and there's revenue on the big meter side that is a priority. And that's why I say, this is a beautiful document. Could we do this whole thing? No way. There's no way. We could get it down to 3 bullet items. The barge, the second pump, and the intake line, and meters.
I would say the intake line would be second after the barge.
But here's the thing, if you don't have that other pump, you could get yourself in a big bind, because the barge,
I got a question on the picture here. Are both of those things broken or just the barge? The little one that's next to it? Well, that's broken too, isn't it? You see, there's the barge and there's the other little thing.
Oh.
Is that
he's
broken
looking at
too?
that platform sunk.
That's going.
So there's basically 2 things you gotta do. The barge and the little
No, we're gonna
thing.
put it all in one
It's
barge.
all in one.
Oh, you're gonna get rid of the little thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Pete,
But both of them are broken.
we can
Right
beat
now.
this till now until Easter, so I think the priority is, from the board, do you have enough to go on?
Well, I'm trying to get down the change in thought pattern just a little bit on the leaks, because in my mind, the distribution leaks and finishing, the cost of the treated water loss at a high percentage is just as important to
No, I
me,
agree.
because you got all the energy, chemicals, and effort that go into it. So it's leaks in general. Addressing leaks, getting the leaks down to less than 10% on either side. Because in reality, I'm not as convinced that $2.5 million pipeline is the highest priority when I look at these distribution leaks that are occurring more frequently. However, start off with, I'm going to go back through the priorities as I heard them, because this is what I'll convey to Jeff, because we're going to do a lot of work and then bring it back to you, and it'll be semi-refined. Here's what it is, here's how it meets your priorities, and here's how we get it done.
I don't think that list has to be that long. I mean, there's about 5 things. The second side of that equation is what could we do in-house to improve the efficiency and reduce, and I'm not talking leaks now, I'm talking operational efficiency. What does Randy need to make this system more reliable? And I use the word efficient because to me they go hand in hand. If we don't have things breaking down, that improves our efficiency and gives us his resources to fix the meters or whatever. Is the meter something? I think you need to factor in the meters as well. Yes.
Well, if to make him more efficient, we need our SCADA system, all our meters working. He needs to be able to tell where water's moving every time, from every tank, every pump, every well, everything. He's out of the leak with it, as far as I'm concerned, as far as system-wide, he's out of the leak fixing business. That's what we got contractors working for, and we know we're not good at it, and let's do what we can do. And when he's not doing those things, then, it might, maybe we have to bring on one person, and if we need to do system, the individual meters, somebody who's not doing meters would get 6 a day in probably. I mean, we could, one guy could do all the meters in 10 months, if he had to do it. So, it might cost $2.25 million, but we could get that off the plate.
No, I agree with you. Emery.
Page 20 on this thing. This hold a high value to our employees, blah, 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 that, retain them. That's another thing. We need to make sure, we got the money to make sure that these 2 guys don't leave. Jose and Randy, whatever it is. We'll never get anybody else to come here. We haven't been able to get anybody else to come here. You need to make sure you take care of these guys so they don't leave here. It's in your report. we have to pay them well, whatever it is. Really do. I mean, I don't know what we do if we wouldn't have, if they left us, either one of them. You know, it's in your report. Make this a good place to work. You know, pay them well so that they stay. You need to do that, you know, whatever it is. Wages the same as the Valley or whatever it is, we have to do it. We have to spend money to keep these guys here. Jose's got a license, he's very valuable now to somebody else, you know. They've wooed people away before. It's happened many times. We've lost people. You remember, I can't remember that manager who went over to.
Randy, it would be beneficial if you could put together a list of, I'll say not capital projects, but I'll say operational projects that you see beneficial for this district, to hear from you. That would be very beneficial and helpful to this board. And what you feel you guys can do and what you would recommend being contracted out. That way, because we need to know. We need to know. And we can make it up, but it'd be better to come from you. So if you could have that ready, and I know I'm not supposed to sign it, but maybe I should tell Pete, if you could have that ready, Pete, through your operations team for the CIP and operational discussion for next month, it would be beneficial if we have to have a special meeting for that, to kill those two items at the one time. And I'm not saying that you're going to do it, I'm not saying, but it would be good educational and it would help us plan. What can we do to move the bar here? And that's what we're looking for.
Before we embark on that process, I think we need to define in the first discussion with the board what is best for our operations crew to be working on.
Okay.
Okay. It's not Danny. Separating out projects, and I don't know what you're meaning by projects, but when it comes to, I think we defined it, and I think we need to list that out and understand it and understand how much time it takes with the various things that we talked about, from operating and maintenance here at the treatment plant at each of the sites, troubleshooting at each of the sites, doing plan review, construction review, all the customer service and meter stuff. Talk about that. Those aren't projects. Those are operation and maintenance things. And get an understanding of that. And when we talk about projects, those are going to be things that our engineer is going to review, and we'll bring them back as packaged in the best way to get us the best bang for the buck, based on our priorities in the construction market and cash flow. Get them out to bid and get them built. And so
I agree with you, but the two of you, I'm saying you and Randy, are not on the same page. Because Randy says we can fix this stuff, the take sites and stuff like that. But you're saying no, let's bundle it. So you guys are giving.
Well, we're not going to build fences, and we're not going to put
no,
gauge boards.
But I'm just saying that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm saying. You say, hey, I can go out and dig a ditch and I can fix these gauges and I can do this and da 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 da. But then Pete's saying, let's get somebody. So I want you guys to get on the same page and bring that to us. So so we're on the same page. That's what you guys got to get together on. Put it all on. When I say projects, to me, fixing the sites is a project. You can classify it any way you want to do it. But if Randy says they can do that and it's more cost effective and he's good with that, but if you're saying we don't have time for that, then okay. But when you come to me, bring me the data. So like I asked Randy, how long does it take to fix this thing? What is your recommendations? Bring us the recommendations on the meters and everything, so we're not piecemealing this. Let us have a big chunk, and if we fix one thing at a time, we move forward. So
what did we say?
We're going
Summarize it.
Summarize. Pete's going to come back and talk to the engineer about what are our key priorities. The barge, intake as a whole. And then they're going to come back. Meters, the whole revenue stream. So then I'll say Russ's recommendations on the tank sites or whatever, then he's going to come back and say, okay, here's our proposal for this. And if Randy says we need to look at the SCADA system here, here, and here, because this will help with our efficiency, will make us more efficient. We need to listen to him because they know where the problems are. We don't.
I agree with that.
So that's kind of where I feel. Now, if I'm wrong, you guys bring it back and say, what do we need to do?
When you say intake as a whole, were you including the raw water main that's leaking?
Yes,
Like crazy?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, because I think that's huge. If that
I think
thing-
because it's two separate items on here, I just didn't know
Yeah,
if we were going to
well,
slide it as
yeah,
one.
we'll have to say, okay, what do we fix first and how do we prioritize it, da-da-da-da, you know?
It's, they're not related. They're part of the water supply system, but you're likely not going to replace the water main in its total at the same time that we
No, I
do the
agree.
pumps and
No, I
all
agree.
that. So they're,
To me, if you want to say it's 3 projects, call it what you want. I just say we need to fix the damn
That's
thing.
3.
Huh?
It's
Yeah.
in the water pipe, it's the pumps, and it's
Getting in here and the
up to
meters.
the raw water.
so understand, your district engineer is also going to be in attendance and will be talking about reasonable schedule on these kind of things too, okay? And I want to go back to the priorities. I want to make sure I have them right in my head, and it's briefly, Danny, I see you looking at the clock. So we've got water supply, I know what that it entails. To me, that's the barge and the intake pump replacement.
Okay.
Not planning for the future, just addressing it, okay? Leak reduction, both on the raw water side and in the distribution
But they
system.
should be separated.
Okay, they are,
Yeah.
in my mind. Customer service, which is the meters, revenue generating activities there, being able to do reasonable water audits, which are the master meters and all of those things. And then system reliability and efficiency. I mean, I'm kind of going down the list because there are some things that we can do that are going to take the heat off of Randy and make his time more efficient and less energy, less fuel, less chemicals, all that. And then safety, facility maintenance, and aesthetics.
When you
I
say,
mean,
Really
just
huge.
okay, can we
when
go
you
through
say
that?
safety, you talk about each of the tank locations and the
Fences,
And
barbed
fences,
wire,
and
employee safety,
the
things
operation
to,
board.
what
what do they call it, the operation board or the, yeah. So at
you know.
each plant, or at each tank, yes.
Yeah, if they become a reliability issue, then they go up in priority a little
Yes,
bit. If they're
okay.
just aesthetics and they look like hell and they're still falling down like they were in 1998, they're more of an aesthetic thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so, and then the discussion about what can be done in-house, the time that it takes and how that interrelates with the projects and all that we'll deal with next month.
Cindy?
I'm trying to figure out how to put this in the minutes.
I got it right. If that priority list,
So if we had to say, as far as 5A, the strategic, is we're basically, the board's in consensus that we have, identified key elements that will be discussed at a future meeting.
Okay.
That's how I would put it, because
Okay.
we kind of said, here's some priorities, and that's how I would say we're gonna follow up with a strategic meeting, strategic planning meeting in the
Okay.
future.
I did have direction to the GM to update and prioritize the CIP list and operation list.
Yeah, that's
Is
the
that
same,
okay?
one
Is that
and
the
the
same?
same, yeah,
Does everybody agree to that, though?
Is that okay with everybody? Okay.
And don't forget, you need to go out to the public.
Okay, thank you for keeping me whole.
Yep.
Public,
Good job.
okay, you got anything to say?
Well, you're on the right track, but you're trying to figure out how to prioritize things and then go get them.
Prioritize and execute.
And I sketched out a little plan that was, when we first started, it's a little bit different than what you did. But that doesn't mean it's, what I sketched out was better than what you guys are trying to do or something like that. So that, I think, so the idea of having the structure and the priorities and going after it is right. The only thing that might be material is that I might just go out and hire, and I keep hearing you can't hire, but you can hire. I'd probably go out and hire 2 more people because there's no question in my mind, and I'm going back to what I knew before and what I hear today, you probably need four production people. And I say production, I mean operations type of people, just to get the things done that you're talking about doing. The operations is very few hours, but the maintenance is quite a bit, and all the projects are quite a bit, and you're just gonna have to have them. And this stuff, the cost of engineers, and the cost of studies, and the cost of planning, isn't necessary on these small projects. I'll say small projects, some terminology, I don't want somebody to get screwed up on it. There's so damn many things you can do that Randy already knows how to do them. And we can get in, a couple of other people with at least ones, and that could follow the instructions and get these things done. That's probably the only thing I would add to what was being said.
Okay, thank you, Wes. All right. Anybody else? If not, we're gonna move on. Victor?
I agree wholeheartedly with him.
Okay.
But I don't think you have enough employees to do all this work.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Because when I was on board, we had about 7 employees.
The budget.
Okay. All right. All right, let's move on to the last item. Confirmation of standing committee appointments for 2019. This is my proposal. I'm open for suggestions if you yay or nay. I tried to think through strengths and capitalize upon that. And so this is what I put together.
Well, we never meet, so it's a big deal.
Well, I know, but you're right, but if we have to with this year, say the capital plan, da-da-da-da-da-da, or the finance committee wants to pull in, then we have them available. Questions, or I'm gonna go concerns, Emery.
No, I mean, we never meet. I worked 2 terms in a row here. I think I've been doing the same thing since you've been the president, and I haven't met on one committee yet, and I'm happy.
Okay,
happy,
I know,
but I'm just
I know.
saying, I'm
Right.
not worried about it.
Okay.
The
Russ?
only thing I would say is thank you for getting me off finances, and Wendy is a far better candidate for that.
Well, I know, that's why we have her. So, Dan?
I'm fine with it.
Nellie? Okay. One of the things, Pete, I read through this, and the timing for the strategic plan and capital, if you look at on page 35 of our thing, annual study session on strategic plan, so I think we're on track to get that done, for board to receive a detailed status report from the district manager on progress made, so on and so forth. So we're right on track, so we'll look for that in February, so it kind of fits right in with these study sessions as well, so.
What page, where are you at? Denny?
I'm looking at 4060.22 on page 35.
Oh,
To
okay.
adopt goals and objectives for the following year to address any matters of concern of the board. And Randy, that's where I really appreciate your input on, and I call them project, you can call them maintenance, you can call them whatever you want to put together. Put together lists, because I've seen frustration in the past where you have wanted to do certain things and you didn't have the board support. And I think you have a different board here that's going to support it. But if we don't know, we can't support. So that's up to you to put it together for the next meeting. And we don't have to call it strategic or the CIP, but we can put it in there to make sure that we get this district moving forward. Okay?
Can we get a motion for the committee, supporting the standing committees that you chose?
I'll move.
Second. Okay,
Who's the
we had
second?
a dual second. We had a Ross and Warren second, so make your pick and go forward.
Sounds like
He's
a
pointing to Russ, so we'll
Okay.
go Russ.
Okay, all in
Thanks,
favor?
Emery.
Aye.
Okay, that's done.
Can I just, can the board send some kind of a certificate to Jose for passing the tests? And can we do that for him, for the board?
You can do whatever you want.
Can we
You can
just,
buy him a steak if you want.
I know.
If you'd like a suggestion for that, I can maybe do a recognition resolution,
Yes,
basically,
yes.
to bring it back to the board
Yes.
to accept.
yes, that would be great.
And then we would present it to him at that time.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, with that concludes the January 2019 meeting at 2:53.
We'll take your wife to Jack in the Box.
So thank you all for coming. Have a great day. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
What about Jack in the Box?